Hello, everyone, and welcome to the January 19, 2026 podcast. It's just me and Mucky tonight. I think a couple of people were getting their hair done. So me and Mucky are going to have a little chat. We're just going to run through the result at Buxton. We're going to have a little chat over Radcliffe coming up tomorrow night, Tuesday the 20th. And we'll also have a little chat as well about the formation of the Cresendaway, how we came about. We've had a couple of people who've asked us, how did Cresendaway start? How did it all begin? So we'll touch over that. I'd just like to start the video, though, with a shout out to our new sponsor. Thank you very much to GW Services UK Limited, Steam Boiler Solutions and Repairs. They're based in Liverpool. They specialise in industrial boiler and maintenance. Give them a look at if you've got an industrial boiler, please. They are gwservicesuk.com. I tell you now, if I had an industrial boiler, I too would use GW Services UK Limited. I didn't know whether to blag or not, whether I've got one in the baby's bedroom, Mucky. Do it as these professional podcasters do when they talk about all kinds, from nail clippers. I've had great nail clippers in the past, but this is the one for me. And then here's the product.
Yeah.
I just don't think it could fit an industrial boiler into frame. But thank you very much to GW Services UK Limited for sponsoring these videos. Hopefully we'll get to bring more good content as well about marine, and we are excited for the future. So let's dive straight into it. Mucky, marine have now won just one in the last five. It's one win, one draw, and three defeats across the last five. I believe this is across all competitions. What were your thoughts on Saturday with you being in attendance? Was it a case of the last 10 minutes, marine just ironically with the boiler situation there ran out of steam?
I enjoyed the pun there.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we played well at all, to be honest. In an attacking sense, I don't think you can really have a go at the team for you maybe have a go losing concentration with the last two goals, but obviously when it goes 2-0 after 18 minutes, it's very difficult, isn't it? And yeah, I just yeah, I don't know. They were stronger. They were just a bit better. I felt we were a bit one-dimensional. Didn't really create much. I felt, obviously we got playing quite direct as Anzala, which I don't think really worked. And I think their big centre half Burton with the dreadlocks. I think he was a good player. He used to play for Scarborough. He was their best player. So, he kind of dominated them our attacking players really. So yeah, we just didn't. And as I said, the second goal kills the game off. So yeah, as I said, Buxton deserved us to win, and it was a disappointing performance, I think, especially when you take that many fans as well. And yeah, I just don't think we play to the level that we've been used to. And obviously the last five games, I think, is a little bit concerning, isn't it? 'Cause there's only one win and one draw and the three defeats. I do think injuries do need to be taken into account because we've lost some big players. I feel, and although we brought some in, I think they're big players to replace, isn't it? But I do think the next three games are massive now because we need to make sure we don't get sucked into any sort of relegation battle. I think we're fine at the moment, but yeah, I think the big improvement needs to happen tomorrow, really.
I think, Mucky, when you're talking there about the players we have lost, we have lost some quality players, and they've all been really important players as well to the team and getting Marine to where we are in the league table as well. I mean, the league table as well, it is tight. Marine sit in the bottom of a group of, I think of it, it's a five teams that are all on 34 points. So, yeah, 34 points. You win tomorrow against Radcliffe, and Marine are a bit Jekyll and Hyde at times, and they could very well end up getting a good win against Radcliffe tomorrow, and then it just propels you up the table to a much more comfortable place. But I think, touching on what you're saying there with the injuries to players, you can't not look at it. For say Gregson and Drysdale,
Yeah.
these are huge players. Newell has been quality every time he's played, but unfortunately the injuries have got the better of him up to this point. These are big players.
Yeah, especially like Drysdale was played at midfield against Kershaw and was brilliant. So that would have been an option to play in midfield. I think losing someone like Gregson, isn't it? And And the other thing, like we've discussed before, is like you still got to pay these players, rightly so, but you still got to pay them. So then it's not very easy to replace them. Our budget's probably bottom four, bottom five, I think. So when you're losing like players that are probably on 400 quid a week or whatever it is, you can't just go out. It's very. I imagine it's very difficult, to get players at the same quality, which I don't think you can do, isn't it? So I think
No, that's it.
that's a big problem, isn't it?
That's it. It's not an infinite well of money where you can go out and start spending 350, £400 a week on a player. And I think credit to Youngie, but how he done it as the manager, and I imagine he's doing it against the director of football, is we're not going to spend money for money's sake. We will bring in the right player. It is a finite amount, so we can't be daft with it. We really have to be very particular about who the player is that we're going to bring in. Do they meet the manager's vision? And are they going to be an addition to the team? It's pointless just getting bodies in, because that's how you will end up getting sucked into a relegation battle when you just bring in anyone to make up numbers.
And I think also as well, isn't it? And I think I'm probably say more the same of it really. Like we are a bit spoilt, aren't we? We sit there now 15th, and I know we can go to ninth if we win tomorrow, but we sit there thinking that like sometimes like that's not good enough. But as I said, our budget's a lot lower than that, isn't it? So we're really like punching above our weight, really. Like, and we're doing well. Do you know what I mean? But you know, if we were to if we were to finish 15th and have maybe go to the next round of the FA Trophy, or even if we go out, I still think that's classed as a really good season, isn't it? But I think it's just like the expectations have gone up, haven't they? And Bobby Gant says the same, doesn't he? Like but he doesn't make excuses for injuries and budgets and all that. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I just think sometimes I'm thinking about myself. I was thinking about it the other day actually. Going, oh, we're 15th now, and it's like if you'd have said that like a couple of years ago, we'd have sat there and gone, if you'd have been like, oh, that's amazing, isn't it? So I don't know. It's just like we're just getting a bit.
That's what I think. If Marine were able to take a draw out of that game, we would have been sat 11th.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? So yeah, there's no reason for anyone to be concerned. Don't worry, because at the end of the day, if Marine were to get into the playoffs, being honest, I think we'd just be taking up a space anyway. There's no way that we'd be ever in a position to compete in the National League. I don't think we'd be allowed in the National League for the year, wouldn't we? Yeah, we
yeah.
would, no
And
matter
also, it's
what.
like, I was going to say this on the last one, but forgot about it. When you see clubs like Fylde going up and down, if they can't like stay in that division, do you know what I mean? It makes you. I just don't think we, as I said, listen, if we went up, it'd be great. You wouldn't knock it, but you'd think we'd really struggle. I think, isn't it? As I said, when you see clubs like Fylde, who've got a lot more money than us, and they can't seem to sustain themselves at that level, isn't it? I just feel like the club really just needs to like consolidate. I know it's boring and people may say, oh, you lack ambition or whatever. But I just think until we move to that new ground, I just think like it's just consolidation till we move to the new ground. And then maybe if we get more investments and bigger crowds at that new ground, then that's when we can really try and target to get into the National League. The one I wouldn't want is if we got promoted and then we just got battered every week. And then you've seen it, haven't you, throughout football, when a team gets relegated after it's been getting beat every week, it then struggles into the next division, isn't it? Whereas I feel like maybe we're just best at consolidation at this level, which I'll be made up with, really. Like,
Well, I mean, selfishly, yeah, this is the level that we've wanted to be in for the decade that I've been following Marine. When we first all started Cresendaway, and we're looking, I think that all the tools are here to be a National League North team. This is where the club really could be, and we're here now. And we've, as you say, we've got to consolidate that, because unfortunately, in terms of the infrastructure around the club, and that includes the budget that we have, the fan base that we have, the ground that we have, and the facilities within the ground. Yeah, Marine are really where they should be.
yeah,
You know, I wouldn't say Marine are sort of punching above the weight, because I feel like Marine really should be comfortably mid-table in the National League North, and that's what we're doing. So when you have a season like this season where you've started so well, and again, I don't want to bang on the drum about injuries, but they weren't injuries to bit part squad players that were replaceable. These were huge players, big, important players. And when I say big, I'm not talking about size, I'm talking about the importance.
Yeah,
There's no way that a team could not be impacted.
yeah,
And I'm sure I know every club up and down the division is going to have the same problem of injury. The difference is the budget is available to go out and replace them. Marine just don't have really that budget. If they're going
no.
to spend money, it's got to be a particular player. You can't bring one person in, throw a load of money. It doesn't work. Okay, we'll bring someone else in. If it's not the right player, then you really have shot yourself in the foot.
But it's like where you see like the games now that you think we've got 3 Tuesday games and obviously playing Tuesday 3 times and Saturday 3 times. Especially as centre back, we've only got like really 2 centre backs at the club now because
Yeah.
obviously the injury to Drysdale. So you can't even rotate, and it's a lot to ask, isn't it, for Josh Wardle and Adam Anson to be playing every 3 days, do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Without no rotation. And imagine if we get an injury, you know what I mean? So that's the big problem really, isn't it? And then you look at like players like McDonald and Gregson who are like I think perfect for the way we play, where like, it's front footed press, power in midfield. We've lost that now. So, I know McDonald's come back, but, you then have to play slightly different in midfield now, whereas obviously they brought a lot of power and strength into midfield and drive, and I feel like we've lost that kind of way of playing, isn't it, in midfield? So, as I said, don't want to sit there and like totally make excuses, but don't you do have to like kind of say, it is a factor, do you know what I mean? So yeah.
Uh, I mean, the stuff we're talking about here as well, a lot of that was said as well within the WhatsApp groups that we're a part of as well, the various different groups of supporters. Mostly touched on the same stuff about the injuries, and no one was sat there bemoaning any particular player. No one was sat there saying any one person was not good enough or the performance was rank. There was no real negativity in that. It was just a real reflective moment of people saying the same sort of stuff. These injuries were eventually going to have to catch up with us.
Yeah.
There were just too many important key players
Yeah.
impacted. No
Yeah,
way
well,
it could not be.
yeah, well, that's it, isn't it? And then you're asking the new lads to come in and play at the way we want them to play and the standard that we want them to play. Do you know what I mean? And I think obviously the lads we spoke about, they know how Bobby works. They know how they need to play it, for Marine and all that. And, I think ultimately it is going to take time for players to come in and do that. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, I think we'll be fine, but it's just a bit. It's frustrating for me because when you look at just before like Christmas, especially the Drysdale one, it's a really disappointing one that because he's top player, isn't he? And to lose him, as I said, he was doing really well in midfield, so obviously there would have been a situation where, Declan Drysdale could play the midfield and obviously Josh and Adam play centre half, and then they could have rotated a bit. But in this period now, when you're sitting there thinking you got like 6 games in the space of 2 or 3 weeks, it's just a lot to ask for, like, just 2 centre backs to be playing kind of thing. But I think that's just the same with everything though. And then you look at the trophy, a lot of cup tied players, so it leaves us really light there. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it's just I've just never known a season like it really. I know we had a bit of it last season, but I think this season's been the extreme, isn't it? It just feels like someone's injured every week.
And it's extreme long injuries as well. They're not just
Yeah,
little
yeah, yeah.
niggles that they're playing after a fortnight. They are really bad injuries to be picking up. That well, I don't think we're going to be seeing many people back before the end of the season, are we?
No, I mean Gregson's a season there. You wouldn't expect Declan back till May, sorry, April earliest, and I don't even think he'll come back. And then obviously, I can't
Butler,
remember.
Butler might not even be back
I was
ready for
just about to remember,
pre-season.
but I can't remember his name. But yeah, yeah, Butler's
No.
not going to be back. So these are like long term, isn't it? And yeah, it's just a shame, isn't it? As I said, I just think like if you take 4 or 5 players out your best team. And I talk even like to the top teams here. If you took 4 of the 5 best players out of like Fylde or South
Yeah.
Shield, I think they'd they might not struggle as much as we would, kind of thing, but it would definitely affect them. Do you know what I mean?
Well, going back to the point I made, they've got the money there that those kind of clubs would just go out and replace them and wouldn't think twice about spending 450, 500 on whoever's available. Marine don't have that because it is a finite amount of money in the kitty.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's why like the reaction's not like it wasn't after like Radcliffe where everyone was like very upset, was it? I think
Mm.
everyone conceded, like De Vries, maybe not to lose 4-0, I think, because I don't think you should have, you should really make excuses losing 4-0 because it's never, something you should do. But I think there are reasons why, it has like the form has like kind of hit a brick wall recently. Do you know what I mean? But
Yeah,
you wouldn't put it past them to go and beat Radcliffe tomorrow. Do you know what I mean? I know Radcliffe good
no, of
team,
course.
but you wouldn't put it past them to because I feel like we will get a different team tomorrow. I don't think we'll be as as poor as we was on Saturday. I think we will have a go because we know we have to otherwise we'll get into beating if we don't.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, as you say, there are ways of losing. You know, extenuating circumstances, and given the fact that Buxton are a full-time team, and you were saying before about it was just the last 10 minutes that it fell apart, and that's not a
Yeah.
surprise when you're there as it is, and then you're going against a full-time team. We saw it when Buxton played at the MTA at the beginning of the season. The last 10 minutes, when we were dead on our feet, they were still going like it was only half time.
But the thing with Buxton as well, people don't forget, obviously you mentioned it, the full time. And if you look the last 2, 3 years, they have been in the playoffs nearly every season, apart from maybe, I think it might have been one. Um, but, that's a team that went to like Scunthorpe last season and won 2-0, they're no mugs, you know what I mean? So losing to Buxton it's, there's no shame in it. Obviously disappointed with the scoreline, but, it is, I think shows how far we've come really. Although I don't want to like bring loads of positives in the 4-0 defeat, but the fact that we are got competing with these clubs, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they are full time, and it does make a difference. You know what I mean? Because you're bringing better players in and they're more fit and stuff like that, which I think we found out. Like the last 10 minutes kind of thing. But yeah, it was just disappointing because I just don't think we laid the glove on them, and that's not us. That hasn't been us the last few months, and we've beat big like full time teams. You know what I mean? So it was just disappointing we didn't really impose ourselves on them. But listen, they're a good team, so sometimes they're just better than us, and that's all it is really, isn't it?
It is. There's no shame in losing to the better team. There isn't. And given everything that we've touched on, yeah, there's no reason to be too disheartened or feeling down or fed up, etc. It is what it is. We can do better. We know by our own standards we can do better, but given the circumstances for everything that we've listed, yeah. But we'll move on because we're going to look to Radcliffe now. So Radcliffe are coming into this game against us. They're coming here. They have won three of their last five. They've got a defeat and a draw in that as well. Touched on before, Marine can beat Jack and Lab, but so can Radcliffe as well. Radcliffe are doing really well in the league this year, but they're not perfect. So there's always an opportunity there. What are your thoughts on Radcliffe, Mucky?
Yeah, so I say the same, is there? Obviously, I don't know what they like. I know a couple of the players that they brought in, but the ironic thing is, if we beat them tomorrow, and I think we've got a game in hand on them, and just say we won that game in hand, we'd only be 3 points behind them. So there's not much between the teams. I was listening to their managers interview actually after the Spennymoor game, and he was talking about like Zanzala, and Jolly being as good as anything in non-league. So I think they know they're going to be in the game, regardless. What how you know our defeat on Saturday. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I think we'll be. I do think we'll be up for it. Yeah, you know the last. I think we beat them the last two games at home as well. So,
Yeah,
there's nothing to fear with them, and you know, what it might just suit us, because they're gonna come at us. They're not good. They're not gonna be scared about coming to Marine. And we've got to have that same attitude, isn't it? And we owed them one because that one at Radcliffe was a bit, it was embarrassing really. 'Cause I thought, you know what I mean. So we owed them one, and and I believe I believe Bobby and the players will be determined to put one back on them. Do you know what I mean? After that performance back in September.
That's it. It wouldn't surprise me, the likes of John O. Is it Morley, the other manager? Yeah.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me as well if they're checking out the podcast just to see if we're giving any information about, players to keep an eye on. Part of their scouting. They're very thorough, and I say that with respect. They are very thorough and very diligent coaches. So I always, you're right. So yeah, I mean that's Radcliffe. I mean, there's not a whole lot to say on Radcliffe, to be honest. From my side of things, it's just a case we'd like to get one back. We've done very well against them at home in the past. Losing 4-0 at their ground in the season, as you say, there's a receipt due. It's just whether we can cash in on it. But going to touch now on Cresendaway, how it was formed. A few people ask us regularly how did it form, and I don't think we've ever kept a timeline of how we came about. It sort of just happened. I woke up one day and found I was part of Cresendaway and doing podcasts, and I just don't know where it came from. All I know is that at the time I started going to Marine, I knew virtually no one. And a lad who I went with decided he wasn't going back, and I kept at it, enjoyed it more. And there wasn't very many people under the age of 40 that were going to watch Marine at that point, respectfully. So
yeah,
I saw you on Twitter, Mucky, and then I saw a picture of you and Phil, I think Chris Murphy as well. And so when I spotted you walking on Twitter, I went, "Oh, that's that Michael Holland lad." Just got chatting to you and Paul Rowan.
yeah,
And then that, for me, that introduced me then to Scott. Cresendaway was coined by Mark Wilcock. He's the one who actually coined the phrase. And then, yeah, I mean, the years are a blur because they are. My memory's shot. Got the
yeah.
Encyclopedia Britannica between us two. So, I mean, what are your recollections? What can you remember about Cresendaway?
So just obviously when I started going with Arlie, then I started going to games, and I think the thing for me was that I always thought Marine had a lot more potential than it was showing. After games you'd look at like the reaction after on Twitter and that, and you'd be lucky if you got one comment about it. So I just the way we looked at it was there was a space there, to start, and it weren't going to happen straight away because, the time the club was only getting 300 fans, stuff like that. But yeah, I definitely looked at it and thought, what, if we can do something there, if we can, and I never imagined it would be like, we'd have as many followers, we'd obviously have an influence on like away fans coming and all that. But, there was definitely a space there, wasn't there? And listen, it wasn't easy at first, was it? I think you might touch on this for when we did start it. I think people probably looked down and gone, who are these like what they trying to achieve, stuff like that. So but yeah, it was I always saw the potential, and obviously the Tottenham game changed. That's when a lot of fans probably started coming to me, and it got a bit more like people looked at it. But I always saw, and I looked at it and thought, there's you know, we were only getting 300, and I thought there's so much potential to get more than that. Do you know what I mean? I always believed that. Obviously the Tottenham game changed that, I think, but it's something I've always believed, and it's obviously great to see about it.
That's it. I mean, we're Marine are now we're part of a 10-year plan, wasn't it? I believe it was a 5-year plan, but it just accelerated overnight.
Yeah,
And the club had to try and adapt it very quickly in a very short space of time to going from an average of 300 odd fans to what was 1,200, 1,300. Obviously, that's growing again. Talking about attendance figures going down, but I don't think really they have. The last few games, we've definitely seen the pull of people coming back in. I think a lot of people who maybe had the allure of going to see what Bramley-Moore Dock was like as a new stadium have now sort of the negativity's crept back in. They've come back. Liverpool being Liverpool again. There's a lot of people who fed up going to watch Liverpool at Anfield right now because the football is pretty poor to watch and it's expensive and it's just a lot of aggro. So again, Marine's
yeah,
on your doorstep. It's so accessible to you and it's there. It's yours. And Paul Leary makes the point, Andre, of making the point of greeting people and saying hello to people, saying hello to new faces, and making themselves accessible as well. And where else do you get that? You certainly don't get it. So one of the laws for Marine for me, I remember one of the very first times I came to Marine, I met Paul and Paul Leary, and he introduced himself to me, and yeah, I was like, well, you know what, the gym's coming over to say hello to me, and I like this. The football at the time wasn't up to much, but again, you could see this sort of social side, and it was Rob, Fife, and Helen, and Susan and Tim made themselves available as well. And we were chatting with them. It'd be wrong to dismiss how welcoming they were at the time when I started as well. And when Cresendaway really started gaining traction, and we all came together and said, well, what shall we do? We've got this group here, Cresendaway. And it was all about just getting people to the away games, wasn't it? Promoting
I
what Maroon is.
I always remember when we first, because I think we were mulling over it, weren't we, for a few months. And I think it was the season we just stayed up, and the manager was under pressure, weren't he? And we announced it, and then within an hour, the manager had been sacked. So we were like, oh, Jesus Christ. And he couldn't have picked the worst moment, to like say, try and do it kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, I think the other thing as well, like, I mean, obviously, what I talk about is like, I think the best thing about it is like, I really like the way like like the older generation talk to us. Obviously at first it was difficult, but when I think people like David Wotherspoon, before he sadly passed away, he was always supportive towards us. And for me, when he did pass away, one of the proudest moments being going from Marine was being able to get his flag, and in Halifax it was, yeah, and then obviously he went on the pitch and stuff
Right.
like that. That meant like the world to me, to be honest, to see that, because I respect, because as I said at the time, we weren't, people probably was wondering. I think David was probably one of the first people who really took to us,
Yeah.
and he was really supportive to what we were doing, kind of thing. So I'll always appreciate him for that. And as I said, it was sort of honor really, to do tribute to my Halifax. It's really. But as I said, there's other people, isn't there? The people who really took to us as well. I think you mentioned like Chris Murphy, but there's one, isn't he? And there's loads like I know you probably name them, but and then there's people in our group now who were going since the 80s.
Yeah.
And again they've really took to us. So I think that's the big thing, isn't it? As I said,
Yeah.
we've made
And again,
mistakes.
you look at the thing as well when we come together as a group. So like Cresendaway just effectively became a banner for people to stand under and that. So like Steve O and Jason and Barry and Bobby and etc. They will all come together. And you look at the stuff like that, like Steve O and Spud have the Spud's been such a driving force behind getting the fans back to supporting food banks and working with them to get that encompassed in Marine. And now Open Marine have been to that as well. Again, they've been so quick to get on board. The likes of Rob Arms and that Armes is it, or Rob Arms. He's
Yeah.
just such a lovely guy, and he's been very hands on as well. And the young fella, Joe, I think his name is. He's such a good guy as well. So you've got people there at Marine who are so open and welcoming to these ideas and these changes, etc., that you want to bring in,
It's
and
it,
you know.
it's
And
like the
Steve-O, I mean, Steve-O's done the speak. Sorry, I just want to touch on Steve-O as well because he's a guy who deserves a hell of a lot of credit because he's been such a driving force behind the um, food bank collections as well, getting things done. And you look at like the likes of Mark Wilcock now, like how he's involved at Marine, and all the media lads, Adam Yates, and that, all these people who give up a lot of time for what is more often than not just a thankless task. Your microphone's cut out again.
sorry.
Well, he's got a button.
Yeah.
He's found his button.
Yeah, it's like the podcasts we do, isn't it? People like Tim and Jamie who come on recently who like so respected and been going for years, and that how like they just gladly come on. It was like when I didn't know Neil Young, I'd never met him in my life. And I think I spoke to Max about like doing the podcast, and he probably did about 10, 12 podcasts with him, and with us kind of thing. So as I said, it's not something that I've ever done as well. This was all new to me, I know it's probably new to you as well. But as I said, when we first started, there was only probably five or six of us. Whereas now it's like with the Tamworth, obviously there's two coaches going, people all going on trains and stuff like that. So it's like, it's really nice to see how like we've been able to be respected for what we do. And that kind of stuff. And as I said, people who've been going a lot longer than us as well, who could have sat there and gone, oh, don't want anything to do with them kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? But I think we have been like, you know, given a lot of praise, I think, do you know what I mean? And yeah, it does mean a lot. It does mean a lot, do you know what I mean? I think said this actually did today as well. I think if TCW finish now, I think it's done its job. We're not going
Yeah,
to finish,
I said
but
that Macclesfield, didn't I? I said to you, is there a need for TCW anymore? The crowds exploded in the way that we'd always hoped it would. The numbers are going, but as a couple of people did point out to us, the things like drinking around the ground, the push for that, and it needed a banner rather than having all these different voices. Every one unified voice of all these fans came together and made things happen for the better. We pushed for the stand. Obviously, there's people within the committee, like Peter McCormick and all that, who also pushed for the stand as well. But again, having the TCW banner there and pushing forward, talking about the
I, th-
need for the
I think
stand
I,
because you remember how bad when that rain got that time and the crushing that started down at the Jubilee, and a lot of people got squashed, and
yeah,
we were really uncomfortable. It was a really horrible situation, the worst situation I can remember watching Marine in terms of crowd swelling at the extended end of Jubilee, but that's how it was because there was no cover there, and Peter had wanted it for a long time as part of the safety. I mean, that's something I want to do as well. I really want to get Peter McCormick on here as well and talk about like the safety side of things and what the work that the stewards do.
yeah.
I mean,
I think
I always look at the first time I met Jude. First time I met Jude was an argument. Now she's one of my great friends. She's such a close friend and a fantastic confidant who I can turn to discuss anything inside and outside of football. But it all starts with an argument.
yeah, and I think that's like the Cresendaway. It's like the power of social media. I mean, I remember I'll just use one thing. And I think the club did see it, and that's why they did it. It was obviously when COVID was going on, we had Tottenham, and obviously it was pretty apparent it was there were no fans going to be allowed, and I'd seen Dynamo Dresden had played a game behind closed doors, but they'd sold like 30,000 like basically what we did, virtual tickets kind of thing. So I tweeted out and I went, oh, that'd be a good idea and all that. And then like a few weeks later, Marine did that, which I was that was the whole point of me doing it because I thought, that'd be brilliant if we could do that, and it would maybe get some um money to the club when they're gonna obviously miss out, with no fans kind of thing. So I think that's like the power of social media, really, isn't it? That you can say things and people look at it. And as I said, when you look at like after games as well, the amount of people who reply to our tweets, if we just say, for instance, we sit there and go, whatever the score it is, thought on the game, and we'll get about 20, 30, 25 comments on it, which is, again, that's the whole point of the goof for me, is like, as long as obviously the comments don't cross a line, in terms of, badly criticising players kind of thing. But I think as long as it's like, it's measured, I think that's brilliant because I think it's massively improved, the last few years kind of thing, do you know what I mean? And I think that's where we do take a lot of credit for that is getting people proper engaged and in Marine that they feel like they can, tweet their opinions, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, this conversation isn't about patting ourselves on the back and how great a way. It's not. It's not meant to be like that at all. It's just a conversation of how we started and what was the purpose. I mean, ultimately, it was all about engagement and investment, getting people engaged in the club, invested in what Marine does, and as fans, we've come out with all these things, but ultimately, it's up to the Marines committee to implement them and
Yeah,
you know. if things go wrong and there's fallout, it's not us as fans that face any action from them to deal with councils or political figures, etc., like that. It is Marines Committee that have to be answerable to Sefton Council or to the mayor of Sefton should they get involved, etc., or local councillors. So, fair play to them. They deserve a lot of credit because you'd say 9 out of 10 they've got it right on
Yeah,
most
yeah.
things.
But I also
Uh,
think like because we're independent, isn't it, as well? And you know, I think they do respect our opinions and stuff like that. So, I think it's worked really well both ways, isn't it? You know what I mean? I think we've been good with the club and they've been great towards us as well, isn't it? So it's and obviously we've matured over the years as well. So it's like yeah,
Massively.
yeah, do you know what I mean? So I think the club probably do see us as an asset. But I always say this it is like when we first started, yeah, it couldn't have carried on like when we only had like 5, 6 people. It would have just like ended pretty quick, I think. But because we've been like really like had a lot of people like obviously the fans who really engage with us and stuff like that. That's why it's been able to carry on, and that obviously more people watching this podcast and stuff like that, which we appreciate.
Yeah,
Without
thank you.
supporters and people backing you, then this would never like carried on really, in my opinion. So as I've always said this, the group's about about supporters, isn't it? That's why we
Yeah,
did it. Without supporters and people like getting behind you and praising you for the stuff you do. But obviously we do that because people enjoy it. You know what I mean? So without that, I don't think it would have been. We'd still be going really. So yeah, as I said,
that's,
it's not about praising us. You know what I mean? It's more thanks to people who engage with
yeah.
us really more than anything.
Oh, 100%. This is a love letter to
Yeah,
everyone
yeah, yeah, yeah,
who follows Marine, who like-minded like us, wanted to get involved in the club. I love Marine. I absolutely love the club and everything that it stands for. I love being a part of it. I love the fact that we've been able to sort of help have a say in shaping it. Um, you know, obviously people who run Marine, the committee, are the ones who deserve all the credit for it, for implementing this stuff and making it work. It doesn't happen without them. But the idea that you can approach them, as we have
yeah,
done in the past with all these ideas, they run the coaches now. They took that forward and started running the coaches. And again, we came up with the idea. We came up with ideas on how to make it work. But it's then we put out. It's the likes of Becky who sits there and jumps on cars and to get it all set up for payment. It's Richard who's chasing coach companies to get these coaches on. And that spent even like stuff like standing in the ticket office to help people buy the tickets there at the ticket office and working the turnstiles, the stewards, and everyone who works on match day operation side. Tony doing the hospitality, which my brother's just done the hospitality the Gloucester game, and he was saying how really good it was, and he really enjoyed it. I've done it before, and Tony's a fantastic host. The people who work in the kitchen and the bar staff, absolutely fantastic at making it happen. If you've never done the hospitality and you're coming across this video, give it a go. You'll really enjoy it.
yeah. And I think the good thing about this group as well, isn't it? Obviously, we do what we do, but we'd love more people to come on this podcast, which I think we'd love, and we're always open to ideas as well. If someone's got an idea and they think it's a good one, then drop it with us. You know what I mean? Because we're always open to like doing new things, and as I said, just open to new ideas, kind of thing. Because and I think that's what the group's always been about, isn't it? We're not like a group that's like I don't know, got a big meetings and stuff like that. But we're a group that, it just gets done on a whim, doesn't it, kind of thing. And if we think it's a good idea to, put something out, then we will. Do you know what I mean? So we're always open to like people, who think, maybe this channel can be better at certain things or do something
Yeah.
different that they think would improve it. I think we'd be all ears on that.
100%, we always are. And, you look at the WhatsApp groups and how big they are and how many people are in them. And again, it's not defined. We don't do a membership. We don't have a structure. It's if you want to come be under the TCW banner, if you want to call it, just come, stand with us, talk to us. If you want to identify yourself as part of the group, feel free to do so. You are welcome to. If you're going to Marine, I'm already considering you someone as I know
Yeah,
in in the sense of me and you have a. If you're watching this, me and you already have something that we both engage with, that is Marine, something that we both enjoy and appreciate. So, by all means, if you want to be part of these podcasts as well, reach out to us. We'd be more than happy to have guests, more guests on. We love having different people on and different opinions. And, I love hearing people tell me why they think I'm wrong and explaining to me why they think I'm
yeah.
wrong. I love that.
There's no there's no strategy to this though, is there? It's like
Oh, there's no strategy.
I think people think like that we didn't I didn't know anyone who's involved in this group before getting to Marine. I never knew
No,
anyone. I only
same.
met them through Marine, and then we thought it'd be a good idea. And then, obviously we've more people got involved and stuff like that. But I didn't know anyone kind of thing, do you know what I mean? So there's been no like strategy to this. My thing was
No
that
plan, no.
obviously, yeah, my thing was that like, and the reason I think it's done so well is because, I treat, and I know you agree with this, I treat this as like just going to, like, this group is just speaking to someone in the pub about football. And that's
Yeah,
all we've ever treated it as, do you know what I mean? I said there's been no, like, membership, anything like that. Nothing money orientated. It's all just about, people just having a discussion and, saying what you'd probably think, if you watch a game of football and the boozer. And that's what
yeah,
we do, isn't it? And that's what we do on these podcasts, isn't it? There's no, right,
absolutely.
we
And
don't
there's a lot of
discuss
things
it
like this.
beforehand, do we? We
Yeah.
don't really
No,
discuss
we
it at
don't.
all.
We don't, and it's amazing up to now how we've not ended up with having so many like faux pas, and we've said something that we're not supposed to say, and then we've absolutely butchered the whole podcast. And because now we're letting slip something that we shouldn't have when we had intel and something that we shouldn't be sharing. And like you were saying before, it's not money orientated. Yes, we'd love to be monetized on YouTube, and that is purely just so that we can invest the money into better podcasting equipment. I was talking to you about that rig where it moves the camera about. So basically, the camera's moving left to right, and it's more engaging. It's not just a static camera, but yeah, I mean the rig up for that. It's an expensive do, and
Yeah.
all we really wanted is just can we cover the cost of like a subscription? We've done it with Zoom because it was one of the more cheaper ones, weren't it? Again, big thank you to GW Services UK Limited for
Yeah.
stepping in.
But it's like I said, as we said, that this group basically of what people want to see it as is it is mainly just a social media group. Obviously, people go to away games, but it's there to promote Marine on like homes and mostly a lot of it away, showing people like that the aways are good and sort of stuff. But it's a social media presence, like massive social media presence to like promote the football club, and I think that's what it's been throughout, really, hasn't it? Do you know what I mean?
100%. 100%. It was
That's
always
all it's
talking
ever.
about moving.
I mean, if there's something that we think like the club should do, we have said it on Twitter a few times. Not always got it right, by the way. For I must add that. But as I said, it's been the most just social media presence, and as I said, I think it's as I said, you can do that with like obviously young fans and all that, but the fact that we've got so many people who were like older fans and been going a lot longer than us, who are very supportive towards us, I think that's just shows how well we've kind of done, because I think people see now how well the group does in, and how much it does promote the football club, isn't it? Because when we first started, if you'd have said 8 or 9 years ago, this is where it'd be, I'd probably said no chance, you know what I mean? So, yeah, as I said, and I said them when I mentioned the story about David Wotherspoon, isn't it? It's like, it's just stuff like that. It's just like, when people take to you, who've been going a lot longer than you, we're just basically newcomers, really, maybe in their eyes, and it's like, when they take to you, I think that does mean a lot, you know what I mean? And it's like people like
It's
Dave
like a
Mack.
validation, isn't it?
Yeah, like
The
people like Dave Mack and
validation.
Jay Levy and that, they've always been supportive towards us, Anthony and Paul. So it's been brilliant for us, really. So that's the that's the thing I enjoy, really. The acceptance by people, really.
And that's it. And I don't do serious. I'm not an overtly serious person, and I certainly wouldn't have the time of day to sit there and structure a podcast and
No,
dedicating times and minutes. We just go with the flow. Sometimes we're accused of doing it too long. Sometimes it's been too short. But I don't want to drone about it. I imagine probably a lot of people have switched off by now, Muck, if I'm being honest. The
But
ego's running wild. We'll wrap it up there. Thanks to everyone who watches, listens. We'll try and get some content out for tomorrow for Radcliffe as well. Maybe see if we can do maybe a pre-match in the build-up video. But obviously it's all down to logistics. I'm working in Manchester tomorrow, so I wonder if I'll see any Radcliffe fans on the train back. Other than that, again, big thank you to all those who watch and support what we do. We're really grateful to you. And if you want to come and join us on the podcast and discuss marine, whether it be match day or other elements, please just get in touch with us. We'd be more than happy to, bring you on board. Everyone is welcome to come and join us. So we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you very much, Mucky. Thank you very much for tonight and joining me.
yeah, thanks so much, mate.
Yeah, thank you very much. We'll see you all tomorrow.